Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm very happy to have you here, guys. So as you can see, today I want to share my thoughts on 3 fragrances from Khadlaj. I have filmed just recently a video on a few other fragrances from the brand. I will add here the thumbnail on the screen as a reference in case any of the fragrances you are interested in trying them out. Just so you know, I have already posted a video on them. I will also link it down below if I don't forget to. But in today's video, I want to share my thoughts on 3 fragrances from the same collection. Now, maybe I should have looked up, but I'm not really sure how this collection is called. Today, I want to share my thoughts on a fragrance called Noir, on a fragrance called Création de Rêve, and on a fragrance called Flor Oud. Yeah. As always, you guys, if you've tried any of these 3 fragrances as well as other fragrances from the brand, I would highly appreciate if you could share your feedback on the fragrances so we can all exchange opinions on the fragrances. I have to say, so far I am impressed with Khadlaj fragrances. I've tried a lot of fragrances from them and I feel like they have a very good balance between how affordable they are. Yeah, they smell more expensive, definitely, for sure. So you pay a little bit of money for a fragrance that smells much more expensive, you know. And they have something, from what I have tried from the brand, they have something for every taste. I don't know with which one to start with, but let's start with Noir. Yeah. As a reference, I've already tried all of these fragrances on my skin multiple times. I wanted to say more times. So for the sake of the video, I will spray them on paper today. So yes, I will insert the notes for this fragrance on the screen. But right from the start, this fragrance does remind me a little bit of another fragrance that I used to have in my collection, but I gave it away to one of my aunties. This fragrance, even though notes-wise, like if I were to look slowly based on the notes, from what I remember, they do have their differences, but this one reminds me a little bit of a fragrance called Avenue Royale from Elisabeth Arden, which is this fragrance over here. If you've tried it, just so you know, this could be like cousins, or if you have a taste for those kind of fragrances, this could be like easily like cousins, you know. Now, let me spray it on paper. Let's see how it smells. Yeah, right from the opening, it follows a similar direction. But this is a tad airier. I feel like it has this molecular airy quality to it. Now look, to me this opens up with this molecular airy quality that I was telling you about with raspberry. The raspberry feels very cold and crisp. I don't feel like it adds much sweetness. In a sense, it adds a slight fruity touch without being sweet, you know. And you have this raspberry with this cold, airy molecular nuance on a slight suede base with a little bit of incense in the background. The overall fragrance feels very dry. It feels quite airy, but it feels, in a sense, it's hard to deconstruct it because it feels like a whole standalone scent, if that makes sense, you know, like it's hard to deconstruct it in like different nuances and accords. But I can tell you this for sure, it opens up with a quite cold, airy molecular facet with that raspberry that again, it's like cold and crisp with a slight suede accord. The suede accord in the opening feels a little bit more subtle, a little bit more muted, but as the fragrance gets to develop on your skin and here on paper as well, the suede accord actually gets a little bit more stronger, but it never, this fragrance, throughout the whole development of it, it feels subtle, it feels more muted. I don't want to say that it feels molecular in a sense, but it definitely is on the subtle side, on the muted spectrum, you know. It's not one of those heady, heavy, attention-grabbing fragrances. I feel like this is the kind of fragrance that perhaps it's closer to your skin. It's strong, but it's muted, you know, it has this quality. Yeah, you have the suede accord, something green in the background, but at this moment on, I don't smell that green nuance, but I remember previous times when I tried it on my skin, you also have a slight green facet. Think green, you know, fragrances that have cyprioliste, think that type of green, like a deeper green, slightly not piney, not herbal, herbaceous, aromatic necessarily, but it's like a slight dark green, muted aura. This has something like this as well, but it's very well blended among the other nuances, so it doesn't overshine the other facets, you know. I feel like this one as a standalone fragrance is pretty well blended. It feels more on the smooth side, it feels more refined, you know. It doesn't feel harsh, it doesn't feel sharp, it doesn't feel like it hits your nose when you apply it on your skin or on paper. I also detect a slight boozy element here. I don't know where it might come from, but like a touch. I don't know if I smell this boozy nuance thinking that it's similar to Fifth Avenue Royale from Elisabeth Arden, but it's almost like this deep, slightly earthy, slightly grounding boozy facet, but again it's very well blended among the other facets. This fragrance, I can't say that it's earthy, just earthy, you know, or that it's just fruity, or that it's just a suede accord, or that it's just cold and airy. I feel like you have a little bit of everything that together create a standalone fragrance that doesn't lean too much in any of these directions, yet each of these facets is present, if you can picture this. Yeah, interestingly enough, here on paper, that molecular that molecular airy quality shines even more than on my skin. I feel like on my skin, let's just say 5 to 10 to 15 minutes in, slowly but surely, basically, as the fragrance starts to develop, the suede decor starts to get a little bit on the stronger side, while maintaining this subtle quality about it. It never gets to be too overpowering, you know. Even if you're not a suede fan, I don't think you will have issues with this fragrance. But it's a beautiful balance between a slight incensey facet, but not like an ashy, smoky like nuance, just like a subtle, again, very muted, very soft, very delicate incense trace. It's almost like it was mistakenly put there in a sense. This is how subtle it is to my nose, with a slight suede decor that it's very interesting, but it feels slightly fumé. But again, a delicate fumé, you know, not like overly fumé to the point where it smells smoky or ashy. This doesn't have anything smoky or ashy about it. That raspberry nuance is present. It will stay throughout the whole development of the fragrance, I feel like. And again, it has just a slight crisp red fruity facet without overpowering the other notes. And also that deep green element that I've said, I don't know if it has listed cypriol, but to my nose I pick up something similar to how cypriol smells like in fragrances, you know. Now look, granted, I've never smelled cypriol in real life, but usually when I've tried fragrances with cypriol, usually it gives me this deep, darker green grounding aura to the fragrance. This, I feel like it's the vibe that it adds to the fragrance without being overly herbal, overly bitter, overly aromatic. It's pretty balanced in a sense. I can say that it smells like you were to crush leaves in your hand and then you were to smell your hand, you know. It's not that herbal vegetation like smell. It just adds almost like a slight earthy facet and a slight green facet combined, but in a very balanced and relaxing manner. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what accord they used exactly, but you have this molecular airy nuance that wraps all the other facets here on the paper, whereas on my skin I do feel like the fragrance, like the nose, they come out a little bit more to play in a sense, you know. They're not as shy, but here I feel like on paper it's that airy molecular accord that shines the most. Yeah, to me this is how it smells like, you guys. If you had a taste for fragrances like Fifth Avenue Royale from Elisabeth Arden, I had that fragrance in my collection. Scent wise, I used to love how it smelled. My problem with that fragrance was that it was so soft, you guys. You could legit apply 20 something sprays of that fragrance, and let's just say like few hours in, it would be gone. Like gone, you know, from your skin, from your clothes, from your hair, like gone. The longevity on that fragrance, it was very poor, unfortunately. Even though scent wise, like what they created, it was a beautiful scent. And I feel like from what I read, is it discontinued now, or did I, yeah, I'm not really sure if it's discontinued, but in case it is discontinued and you wanted to find something similar, now of course I don't have it in my collection anymore to compare it to that fragrance, but from what I remember, they are similar. This, however, I feel like it's a little bit more airy dominant, whereas the other fragrance, the boozy element, shined a little bit more. Of course, maybe if I were to smell them side by side, I'm sure I could pick up other differences. This one, to me, it's on the stronger side. I don't want to say that it's so strong that it like fills every room, you know. Of course, I didn't do like a proper wear test to the fragrance, but from what I have noticed so far, I don't think it will have performance issues. Anyways, you guys, this is such an affordable fragrance that, let's just say, even if you would like to keep the scent bubble at the same strength throughout the hours, you could always like carry a small decant in your purse. You could top it off. You could always reapply it throughout the day, let's say, you know. I don't think that should be an issue. And now quickly mentioning on the seasons and versatility and gender, to me this fragrance, it could be an easy and all year round fragrance. Of course, if you prefer fruity forward fragrances or floral, musky, fruity fragrances during warm weather, then this might be a cold weather and cold weather only fragrance for you. But for someone who loves, I don't want to even say heavier fragrances, but for someone who, yeah, For someone who has a taste for this kind of fragrances, you could easily wear it all year round. I don't feel like this could be suffocating, even in the highest of heat. Like, because it has this airy quality about it in a sense, I don't feel like it will be suffocating. But when I mean airy, don't mean like overly airy, ozonic, translucent, transparent, overly bright, you know, and light. This fragrance does have this airy quality about it, but at the same time it has those deeper nuances, but they blended them together in such a way that the fragrance doesn't feel suffocating. It rather feels more subtle and refined and muted, yet it feels present, you guys. This is not one of those like light and bright and breezy fragrances. Now let's move on to the next fragrance. Let's move on to Création de Rêve. Let me spray this fragrance on paper. Again, I've tried this fragrance. Now look, this one, I've only tried it once because this one to me is a masculine fragrance and masculine fragrance only. Even though I do have a taste for spicy, woody fragrances, this is not the kind of fragrance that I would wear myself at all, you guys. This shines on a man, in my opinion, of course. Now let me spray it. This fragrance opens up in such a bold and unapologetic way. This is definitely for someone who has a specific taste in fragrances. This is not the kind of fragrance that you purchase like blindly as a gift for someone, unless you truly know that person's taste, because it can very easily become an overwhelming fragrance for some people, because this definitely, from the first moment you smell it, it feels loud, strong, unapologetic, you guys. It's a statement fragrance for sure. And not only this, but it feels more on the mature side as well. I don't feel like someone who's very young could pull off this fragrance. I do feel like you need a masculinity to pull off a fragrance like this, and also a clean, polished look in a sense. But I will touch more about this aspect after I tell you how it smells. So how it smells: in the opening, it smells spicy, peppery, and fumé, like smoky, ashy almost, and I feel like the ashy aspect on my skin shines even more. It's interesting because it opens up with this, let's just say like three nuances, or like three accords. First of all, you have the peppery kick that is very pronounced in the opening. Then you have this rich, woody, a little bit balsamic, a little bit fumé, a little bit leathery, like accord that feels like I've mentioned. All of this combined, you know, you have something that's very like rich and woody and heavy. You also have a slight smoky leather, or like a smoked leather, you know, and something green. To me, it smells dry and a little bit, not bitter, but it smells like hay, like dried grass, you know, like if you've ever smelled dried grass, you know, it can feel a little bit, not bitter again, but maybe a little bit pungent to the nose if you're not used to these types of smells. You have all of this combined here, and with a slight balsamic resinous like base to me. Yeah, I don't know why it makes me think of labdanum, but like again, labdanum with like a fumé leather, with black pepper, and with hay, the smell of hay. This fragrance definitely feels mature. It feels mature, it feels very masculine, and not masculine in a sense that it's like that I just stepped outside of the shower type of masculine. It smells masculine in a sense. I would picture this fragrance, first of all, on a gentleman who's well dressed, and he's more mature, let's say, you know, and he has a very serious look to him. If you're the type of man who's like always joking, I don't know, always laughing, always, you know, that type of person, I don't feel like this is the kind of fragrance that would suit that personality, because this is such like a serious and almost like a little bit of a rigid fragrance, you know. It definitely feels more mature. Like when I smell this fragrance, I don't know why I picture a man like in his 40s, perhaps 50s, you know, perhaps 60s. Not in the sense that it smells dated, because I don't feel like it smells dated, but you need the maturity to pull it off. And also, can I just say, this feels elegant, but you can quickly go wrong with this fragrance. First of all, you wear it whenever you feel like it and you do whatever you want with it, okay? I'm just sharing my thoughts on the fragrance. But when you wear something like this, not this fragrance only, but when you wear a fragrance in this scent family, you need to make sure you have a very polished look. And your outfit is on point, if you have a beard, like your beard is trimmed, like everything, you need to be put together to pull off a fragrance like this. Because considering that this fragrance naturally has this like fumé leathery funk already, with the woody accord, with the slight ashy smoky facet, with the smell of hay, you know, like dry grass, and with that balsamic hint, I smell labdanum here when I smell it. Like sticky, rich, deep labdanum. with all those nuances combined. It can feel very, what's the word in English? Let me think a little bit. It can, like, if you're not put together, and let's just say maybe your beard is not done to perfection, like maybe your haircut is not done very well, like the choice of outfit that you, like your choice of outfit that you wear in that day, perhaps it's not the most elegant or like very put together, it can feel like you don't wash yourself. Yeah, this is why I say these kind of fragrances, you need a look, you need an event to pull them off, you need the energy, definitely the energy. I mean, this fragrance on a teenager would feel out of place, honestly. Yeah, definitely out of place. As a reference, when I smell it now, especially the opening, this is the other one, hold on. Yeah, the opening reminded me a little bit, but only the opening of a fragrance of, it reminded me a little bit of Oud Wood from Tom Ford. I don't have that fragrance in my collection, but from smelling it throughout the years, let's just say, it reminded me a little bit of that one. But now as I'm smelling it more, especially here on paper, now it reminds me a little bit of Imperial Oud from Al Haramain. But you know what it reminds me of from Imperial Oud from Al Haramain? That labdanum take. You have a very similar labdanum done in a very similar style here, in a sense that it feels raw, it feels unapologetic, and yeah, raw is the best word that comes to my mind to describe this. It feels raw, you guys, like it feels raw and unapologetic. But here I feel like it's paired with that fumé leather, with that rich woody accord, a slight ashy facet, and that hay, like dry grass smell. It feels a little bit bitter, you know, but not overly bitter, but the green nuance here does feel a little bit bitter. This fragrance is a showstopper, but if you know how to pull it off, because it can feel it. I feel like if you don't have a taste for this kind of fragrances, or if this is not naturally the kind of fragrance that you already enjoy, it can quickly become too overpowering for someone. And it's the kind of fragrance that instead of you wearing the fragrance, is the fragrance that wears you, if you know what I mean. It can quickly feel out of place, like it's a borrowed fragrance, you know, if it's not the kind of fragrance that you naturally enjoy already. But yeah, as a reference, if you enjoy Oud Wood from Tom Ford, if you enjoy Imperial Oud from Al Haramain, if you enjoy all the notes and accords that I described so far, then try it, because it's a well done, heavy, you guys, and unapologetic statement fragrance. But keep in mind everything that I've said about it. Performance, look, of course I haven't done like wear test to this fragrance, but I don't think, by the way it smells, I don't think performance is an issue with this fragrance, honestly. I definitely don't think performance is an issue. And also this fragrance, less is more. Less is definitely more. If you overdo it, it can go from feeling refined and expensive and gentleman-like and a well-mannered masculine man type of energy to cheap if you overdo it. Because to me the beauty of this fragrance is when you do less of it and people smell it more in the air, of course with the right outfit, with the right everything, you know, that's when this fragrance or like this DNA gets a chance to shine. If you overdo it, if you overdo it and if you don't take into account everything that I've said, yeah, to me can feel a little bit, yeah, let's just say it doesn't shine in the most beautiful way, you know, let's just say it in an elegant way, in a professional way here on YouTube. But let's move on to the last fragrance for today's video. Where is it? Here it is. Let's move on to Flor Oud. This fragrance, this is the most feminine fragrance out of the three. Yeah, and this to me is a feminine and feminine only fragrance. Again, I will apply it on paper, but I have smelled this fragrance on my skin as well. So let's see. These are the notes for the fragrance. This fragrance, first of all, in all honesty, when you apply it on your skin, you need to give it a few minutes. Let's just say 2 to 3 minutes to settle on your skin, because the opening can feel a little bit like all over the place, you know. It opens up slightly crisp, slightly citrusy, quite cold, quite zingy, quite tangy. Like lemony with bergamot, quite acidic a little bit, quite airy, powdery and musky, and floral. But this is why I say give it a few minutes, because the moment, like if you let this fragrance stay for like 3 minutes, I pick up this paper, I smell it again, it's a whole different fragrance. At least this is what happened on my skin. In the opening it smelled one way, few minutes in, let's just say 5 minutes in, after I smelled it again, the fragrance has morphed into a completely different fragrance. It felt much more balanced, it felt much more put together in a way. And the notes were like in more harmony with each other, let's say. Whereas in the opening, it can feel a little bit like all over the place. I will give it a few moments to settle. Because like I've mentioned, there's no point in describing how the opening smells like besides what I've told you so far, because it will change anyways. This is the kind of fragrance that you need to give it a chance to settle onto your skin before you smell it to form an opinion, let's say, you know. Completely different fragrance, like I've said, completely different fragrance. You know what it smells like now. Now it smells like you're in your garden somewhere in the Mediterranean. You're in your garden and you are near your orange trees and they're blooming, you know, like you're smelling lots of orange blossom everywhere near you. You're peeling a mandarin orange, so you have that like sweet ripe mandarin orange juice bursting everywhere with that airy touch. Yeah, this is how it smells like. It feels very airy, very sunny, very warm, a little bit breezy, but relaxing in a sense, relaxing, and the orange blossom shines very beautifully here with that mandarin orange that adds a little bit of sweetness. And actually, as the fragrance develops even more, especially on your skin, I feel like here on paper it doesn't really shine as much. I start to detect this beautiful, delicate pear-like nuance in the background that adds a very subtle fruity sweetness to the fragrance. And I feel like the pear mixed with that ripe mandarin orange scent are the nuances that will shine the most from the heart till the dry down, of course with the orange blossom, but I feel like that powdery musk moves a little bit more in the background and the overall fragrance gets even more warm, a little bit more sweet. Yeah, I feel like overall it's a very easy to enjoy fragrance if you can get past the opening. The opening, you guys, honestly, the opening, it feels like it belongs to a different fragrance. I don't know, but the opening, the way it smells in the opening, in like the first 2 minutes, it has absolutely nothing to do with how beautiful it will develop and how it will smell after those 2 minutes, you know. Like I've said, in the opening it smelled quite crisp, quite cold, quite misplaced in a way, you know, like those notes were not in harmony with one another. However, after 2 minutes, now no comment, you know, like no complaint after that. Yeah, it transported me to, like I've mentioned, being in your garden, you know, as if like you were to have like orange trees, you know, and they were blossoming and you had orange blossom everywhere near you and you were like peeling a ripe mandarin orange. You were very relaxed on a warm day outside. Everything was going great, you know. You were just relaxing and enjoying the moment. This is how this fragrance smells like to me. I don't know what fragrances to tell you that it reminds me of. Honestly, I don't know. It's hard to say. But I feel like in general, if you enjoy fragrances like Amirat El Arab, if you enjoy fragrances like, if you enjoy orange blossom forward fragrances and citruses, but like a sweet take on a citrusy fragrance, a very delicate and feminine take on a citrus fragrance, nothing overly acidic, overly astringent, refreshing, this and that, you know. After the first 2 minutes, keep this aspect in mind, after the first 2 minutes, you know. This is everything I wanted to say. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. As always, if you want to tell me anything, please put it in the comment section and I promise that I will get back to you. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. Yeah, follow me on Instagram. Here is my handle in case you want to connect with me over there too. So yes, I will see you in my next video, but until then, thank you so much for watching and I want to wish you an amazing day wherever you are. Bye.